Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise. Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. What an incredibly gorgeous weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't get over that weather.
Yeah, this is going to be the first full week of fall, or at least fall starts this week, I should say, and not even a hint of summer at all during the weekend.
Yeah, I wish we could keep it that way.
I know, unfortunately, that's not
sure
going to be the case.
We're going to.
Your time now is 5:02, and breaking news this morning, Pfizer says its 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine was safe and showed a robust antibody response in children ages 5 to 11. Pfizer says more than 2,000 children in the trial were given 2 smaller doses of the vaccine than those given to people 12 and older. Data shows it produced antibody responses and side effects in children that were comparable to those in a study of people 16 to 25 who received the full dose of the vaccine. The company says it will soon look for authorization from the FDA. If approved, 5 to 11-year-olds will be eligible to receive the shot.
Starting today, you'll have to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test in order to attend a large indoor event in California. The rule, announced last month, applies to indoor events where 1,000 or more people will be in attendance. The old requirement was lowered from events with 5,000 or more. An alarming increase in coronavirus cases, driven by the more infectious Delta variant, was a major factor in state health officials' decision to alter California's policy. Venues will be in charge of implementing the protocol. The changes will remain in place until November 1st.
The new rules come into effect just 3 days before the start of the Kern County Fair. Proof of vaccination, a negative test, and masks will not be required to attend the fair since the event is largely outdoors. But local health officials are urging the community to be safe if they're planning on going.
I just want to say that masks still are a great way to slow the spread of infection. You should wear them when you go to the fair. And of course, I think, honestly, the single best thing you could do if you are going to the fair this year is vaccinate yourself to protect not only yourself, but others.
The Kern County Fair runs from Wednesday through October 3rd at the Kern County Fairgrounds.
And out of the latest numbers here in Kern County, as we learned of another life lost to COVID-19, 1,515 lives have been lost to the virus since the beginning of the pandemic. Meantime, 510 new cases were confirmed on Friday. More than 5,600 people have tested positive this month alone. The good news, the average number of people testing positive each day is declining. However, state data shows 317 people are in the hospital with COVID-19, another 70 in the ICU. And after 150 days, Public Health released the updated information on people who have died from COVID-19. Those 65 and older continue to be the most affected age group, accounting for 64% of deaths in Kern County. A majority of deaths continue to have comorbidities. Hypertension and diabetes are the 2 most common. Hispanics account for a majority of the deaths, with 56%. According to Public Health, the population is disproportionately affected, as they only make up 52% of the population in our county. The newly released data also shows men continue to account for a majority of the deaths.
A temporary art installation in the nation's capital is revealing the human toll of the COVID-19 pandemic. Row after row of white flags. Each one represents a life lost to COVID-19. More than 600,000 white flags have been placed in the lawn at the Washington Monument. As of Friday, more than 670,000 deaths, 1 of every 500 Americans, have been recorded in the U.S.
What we are doing is we are recapturing the human dignity of each one of these people who have been compressed, who have been reduced to numbers.
Artist Suzanne Brennan Furstenberg is the same person who created an installation at RFK Stadium last October. Since then, we have lost nearly 400,000 more lives to coronavirus.
Your time now is 5:08. Dozens of dogs and cats are waking up in forever homes after the annual Clear the Shelters adoption event. KGET partnered with the Bakersfield Animal Care Center for Saturday's adoption drive. The event provided people the opportunity to adopt a new pet with all fees waived. Stacy Downs, president of the Steve Downs Melanoma Foundation, surprised the shelter with a $5,000 contribution.
My dad was the owner of Bill Wright Toyota and North Bakersfield Toyota, and it was something that was very important to him. He used to pay for all the adoption fees, and it brought him so much joy to clear the animal shelter.
This is a straight donation that helps us purchase supplies and purchase medical equipment and purchase other things for our animals here, and we couldn't be more grateful.
And all 140 pets were adopted over the last month during the Clear the Shelters promotion. 50 of them were adopted Saturday during the actual event. So a big thanks to everyone who came out. There are still pets there who need to find forever loving homes. Oh my gosh, taking my children there.
Yeah,
not one of my best ideas.
I was going to say, you almost
Saturday.
came home with several pets.
Oh my gosh, just broke my heart. It broke their little hearts to see the dogs, you know, in the cages, and then it broke my heart. Yeah, so there are still lots of pets who need homes down there if you have space in your home.
Yeah, so they're closed today. The Bakersfield Animal Care Center will reopen tomorrow, and they do say that they have still dogs and cats available. So please, if you didn't make it out on Saturday, please find a way to go out there on Tuesday. You can also make a donation to the Bakersfield Animal Care Center if your house is full. They, of course, do such amazing work taking care of these dogs and cats. We actually got to see a little bit of some of the work that they do to not only to house them, but to also bring them back to health, and that's always a great thing to see as well. 5:32 now, and recapping our top stories on this Monday. Pfizer says its 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine was safe and showed a robust antibody response in children ages 5 to 11. The company says it will soon look for authorization from the FDA. If approved, 5 to 11-year-olds will be eligible to receive the shot. Starting today, you'll have to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test in order to attend a large indoor event in California. The rule announced last month applies to indoor events where 1,000 or more people will be in attendance. Venues will be in charge of implementing the protocol. The changes will remain in place until November 1st. Public Health on Friday released the updated information on the people who have died from COVID-19 here at home. Those 65 and older continue to be the most affected age group, accounting for 64% of deaths here in Kern. The newly released data also shows men continue to account for a majority of the deaths.
And now to some breaking news out of Russia, where 8 people are dead and more than 20 others hurt after a shooting at a university. It happened overnight at Perm State University in central Russia. According to the school, a gunman entered campus and started shooting at people on the street. Officials say 28 people were hurt, some of them hospitalized with various injuries. The gunman was later taken into custody. He has not been identified, although officials say he is known to authorities.
Now to a story we've been following since last week. A body believed to be that of 22-year-old Gabby Petito was found in a Wyoming National Forest yesterday. Petito was last heard from in late August while on a cross-country trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. She was last seen at Grand Teton National Park before she went missing. Agents started doing ground surveys, focusing on an undeveloped camping area in the forest. And yesterday, the FBI confirmed they discovered human remains in that area. Residents of North Point gathered last night to pray for Petito. Gabby lived in the Florida town with her fiancé and his family. People brought stuffed animals, pictures, lit candles, and tied bows to the branches of a tree to honor the young woman. Residents there say they are heartbroken at the news. One woman who said she worked with Gabby at a local grocery store and remembers her as a happy person.
She was always happy, always forthcoming, always talking to everybody. She was a great girl. She was so amazing, so amazing. She loved to talk to people,
Her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, who is considered a person of interest in this case, left his Florida home last Tuesday, according to his parents. Authorities are combing a wildlife area near the Florida Gulf Coast to find him.
A critical week lies ahead on Capitol Hill, where time is running short for Democrats to pass key parts of President Biden's agenda. On their to-do list, passing an infrastructure bill and a much larger social spending plan. All this while trying to keep the government from shutting down and defaulting on the national debt. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest.
Maddie, good morning. Democrats here on Capitol Hill are projecting confidence that they can move forward with the president's agenda while keeping the federal government open at the same time. But at this point, it's not clear how they're going to get it done. For congressional Democrats hoping to deliver President Biden some key legislative victories, it's crunch time.
This is an astounding workload. We have so many issues in September, including reconciliation, including debt limit, including spending by the government.
As leadership tries to keep all Democrats on board to pass a bipartisan $1 trillion infrastructure improvement bill and a separate $3.5 trillion package of tax and spending priorities, a fight with Republicans to keep the government open and to raise the nation's debt limit appears to be intensifying.
Let me be crystal clear about this. Republicans are united in opposition to raising the debt ceiling.
Congress has raised the nation's debt ceiling more than 75 times since 1960. It allows the federal government to finance spending already passed. In a letter to colleagues Sunday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi quoted experts who warned letting the nation default on its debt would be a catastrophe.
The position that Republicans, primarily Senator Mitch McConnell, have taken is totally irresponsible.
But Republicans see it as a way to send a message that they're not on board with Democrats' big budget spending priorities.
This time, Democrats want to increase the debt ceiling for their reconciliation bill, which they're passing on a party line basis.
Congress must also pass a spending bill by month's end to avert a government shutdown. House Democrats this week plan to introduce a bill which would fund the federal government until at least early December. A measure to raise the debt ceiling would likely be a part of that bill. In Washington, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
5:37 is our time now, and this morning 3 wildfires are burning in Sequoia National Forest. A lightning strike sparked the windy fire on September 9th. It has scorched more than 23,000 acres and is just 4% contained. The fire is threatening giant sequoias and redwoods in the forest. The windy fire is located south of the K&P Complex fire, also burning in the sequoias. Meanwhile, in South Lake Tahoe, residents are starting to pick up the pieces after the Caldor fire devastated the community. As more locals and tourists return to the area, business owners are doing what they can to let people know they're not alone.
We know that we have a strong community, and then with that strong community, let's move forward to better days.
The Caldor fire has burned nearly 220,000 acres and is 72% contained.
From our 17 News follow-up file now, an arrest has been made in connection with the murder of a young Arvin girl. 10-year-old Liliana Jimenez was shot and killed on Hill Street back on July 18th. Her 12-year-old brother Christian and their father were wounded. Arvin police announced Friday they've arrested 18-year-old Jesus Everardo Haros Rodriguez for the crime. He was booked into Kern County Jail on murder, attempted murder, and separate drug charges. He's due in court today.
A woman is recovering after being hit by a car in central Bakersfield last night. It happened in the area of Brundage Lane and Oak Street around 7:45. The woman was rushed to the hospital with what medical crews are calling moderate to major injuries. It is unclear what led up to the crash, and police say alcohol and drugs do not appear to have been a factor. Meantime, at least one person has died after a car ran into an almond tree northwest of Wasco. According to CHP, the crash was reported just before 3 p.m. yesterday on Wildwood Road, just south of Sherwood Avenue. A cause of the crash was not immediately known.
It's 5:39 your time now. In your Crime Watch, a man is fighting for his life after a shooting Saturday night in Lamont. Sheriff's deputies were called to an apartment complex in the area of Sunset Boulevard and Weedpatch Highway around 10:30 p.m. That's where they found the man who'd been shot. He was rushed to Kern Medical. No information about the shooter has been released. If you know anything about this incident, you're encouraged to call the sheriff's office at 861-3110.
Now to a memorial service for fallen Marine Sergeant Nicole G. from Northern California, who was killed while assisting evacuation efforts in Afghanistan. Hundreds of people attended her memorial service and lined the streets with American flags to pay tribute to G. Aton Wallace, a former 17 News reporter now working with our sister station in Sacramento, was at the church where those who loved her said their final goodbye.
The solemn sound of bagpipes marked the beginning of this memorial service, a service to remember and honor the life and legacy of the late U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole G.
She was kind, compassionate, caring, strong, fearless, a mentor, a warrior, a Marine's Marine, and a true American hero.
Remembered for her bravery, the Roseville native made the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan last month, where she was one of 13 service members killed in a suicide bombing. Hundreds of people attended the ceremony at the Bayside Church in Roseville, where Sergeant G's family and her best friend, Mallory Harrison, spoke about her legacy.
She lost her life so others may live, and without a doubt, she died proud.
1 week before the 23-year-old G lost her life, she posted this now viral picture to her social media account showing her cradling an Afghan infant. Her caption, "I love my job." Those who spoke today say this picture embodied how G lived her life.
To the core of her existence, she loved.
Her selflessness and willingness to help others drove everything that she did.
Thank you. Never forget.
Outside the church, dozens of people lined the streets with American flags to pay tribute to G. Among those waiting to salute G, Tara Latham and her children Lionel and Georgia.
I just wanted my kids to see it. They don't really understand what's going on, but it's important for me to show them that this is what we do.
Those who spoke during today's service say they want to make sure this wife, daughter, and friend is never forgotten.
Till Valhalla, Sergeant Nicole G. You'll always be my best friend and you'll always be my person. Semper Fidelis, I love you forever.
In Roseville, Eitan Wallace.
Surround them with your power and surround them with the promises of God.
G is among 3 Marines from California who were honored Saturday after making the ultimate sacrifice during a suicide bombing that killed 13 U.S. service members. In Riverside, thousands gathered to remember U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Kareem Nukui. His family said Kareem talked about being a Marine for as long as they could remember. They talked about his compassion, courage, and dedication to duty. His sister says that Kareem had saved 3 families in Afghanistan before his life was taken in the suicide bombing. And U.S. Marine Corporal Hunter Lopez was also remembered. Corporal Lopez is the son of a Riverside Sheriff's deputy. His family says he was always working hard to strive for perfection and that he worked tirelessly to be the best Marine he could. In a statement, the Riverside County Sheriff's Association said, quote, he chose to follow a life of service, selflessness, courage, and sacrifice, like his parents.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.